I think, first off, Prince Jr. needs to stop saying he's the protector of the city. It's putting
it's false advertisement.
A bad image for him, the city, his people. You can't protect everybody. I'm sorry. And that's very obvious. Whether this was intentional or accidental, whether you were trying or not trying, there has been too many incidents that have occurred where you have failed to fulfill your promise of protection. Stop it. Stop even going there. Unless you're offering them armed guards to stand by them 24/7, you have no way to offer them protection.
Right, because can't nobody trust your word if every time something happened to somebody, your name is always brought up in the situation. Now, keep in mind, you got too much money to even have this type of stuff going on around you, let alone for somebody to be in your circle that is doing this type of stuff to people. Now, people don't trust you no more. People don't care how you feel about it, but people don't want to get their life taken or get locked up for doing something to one of y'all.
And like you said, he's got too much money for this. Like, he needs to move a little differently and make some better life choices before he finds himself indicted.
For real, because J. Prince Sr., his name already got brought up into what happened with Pimp C and the rest of them. I ain't gonna even get into that because that ain't my cup of tea right there. But this is what they saying. They saying that it's so many people who sit back and watch certain things go on and they just ignore it. But it's your people who doing stuff. It's your people who robbing people. It's your people who taking people's jewelry off their neck and taking their watches off their wrists. I want everybody to know this sad. Hit the like button if you a fan of Takeoff.
At the end of the day, I don't care who you have in your pocket or whose pocket you're in. It will all catch up to you. Eventually, all of your little safety precautions, your little walls of protection will come down. So either you move differently, you live life differently, or you live a short-lived life. There is no way that someone can offer the city protection when they don't run the city, first off. Second off, there are too many incidents where you've had an event and your event goes south.
Yeah, it went sour every time.
You need to have some major security precautions in place, or, I'm sorry, if I was in that crowd, I wouldn't be joining any of your events because I don't know if I'm going to walk out alive.
Exactly, and that's why the feds, they collected all the evidence. They said that by HPD giving them the bags, y'all know the evidence bags, with all of the shell casings, all of the fingerprints that was on that door. You know, they got the little sticky strip. They sprinkle the dust on that, and then they wipe it with the little brush, and then they stick the sticker on that, and then they rip it off. That's the fingerprint that's in the bag. I want y'all to know, J. Prince Jr. bought the guns that was used. And they already said that J. Prince Jr., like, certain things that he got going on, he kind of put himself in this because he feel that his money could buy him out of anything. Your money can't buy you out of everything. Look, Takeoff, he lost his life dealing with you. They said that as soon as Quavo go to court, as soon as they have the trial, the things that is going to be brought upon the whole camp of Martyrs is something that we never thought that was going to happen. They just dropped the bombshell, so the dudes who actually did that to Takeoff, which is the dude Clark and the dude Lil Cam, they just got to win in this case. And I want y'all to know, the feds don't play no games. They come and get you, but if they overlook something and they miss a step, they will double back. It's loopholes and everything, but we knew that Takeoff should have never went out there. If he would have never went there to that bowling alley, he'd still be here with us right now.
You know, it's very sad that we had to lose yet another person, another victim to senseless violence. But reality is they will not overlook the circumstances, the event itself, who was there, how many guests were supposed to be there versus how many actually showed up, who was missing from the scene when they arrived. There's cameras everywhere. So if they think for just a split second that this stuff didn't get captured and that there's no evidence that can hold them, I think they're severely mistaken. They had better have a really good defense team is all I can say, because they're not going to leave any stones unturned. They're going for fingerprints. They're going for surveillance. They're going for videotapes. It doesn't matter if you were there, you're going to be interviewed.
It was so many witnesses who was actually standing around. They pulled out their phones and they started recording. For you to start recording somebody getting hurt, it shows the respect you got for Takeoff. Like, they didn't care about Takeoff. They didn't care if Takeoff would have made it out of there alive or not. Regardless of what's going on, Quavo's supposed to stood up for his family member. Like, you cannot go places with your family and then let one of your family members like get hurt in the due process of you being out in public. Like, at the end of the day, Takeoff, he should have never even been around Quavo at all. They said that J. Prince Jr. ignored Takeoff when Takeoff kept saying, man, I came out here to make my stop with Quavo, and then I'm gonna go back to the crib. I ain't trying to do no extra nothing. Once he said that, J. Prince Jr., he looked at Takeoff and was like, man, this dude tweaking. By him saying that, it goes to show he didn't care if Takeoff made it out alive or not.
Which is just insane to me because, that's a false sense of hope and life perception when people think they can buy their way out. And we know a few different incidents where people have thought they could buy their way out of anything. And it works for a little while. But eventually, that security falls apart because you cannot depend on that. And man, if he really was the one to purchase them weapons and they're in his name.
Yeah, they is.
Ooh, do you know the charges that go behind that?
Sometimes they don't come pick you up when stuff happen. They come pick you up later on after everything done hit the fan and everybody done snitched.
They're going to try to build a RICO.
Don't play basketball. You just saw me play basketball. Play like that, bro. Don't play like that, bro. Hey, let go. Back and forth, bro. I've been hurt somebody, bro. No. Yo, we sliding through the town, man. We sliding through the town. Got the birthday boy. Yeah, also. Yeah, we on the 5th. Yeah, the 5th ward. Like them. I got one for you now. I got a 6-1 coming home.
Everybody ready? Good. All right. Afternoon, everyone. Chief Fenner here with Mayor. And Mayor, thank you for the support. We're here to announce an arrest, but before I do that, I always start with that human element. I spoke to Takeoff's mother early this morning.
We all know there's a certain check-in process, and J. Prince Jr. is supposed to be like the protector of the city. So who's he protecting? At the end of the day, it's obviously not the people who supposedly are his friends that step out of their own comfort zones to join him for a celebration. And then we're talking about a bowling alley. Thank God there was no kids around. There was no immediate family, like young, because who knows what a stray bullet could have done. This is a sad situation the day that we have to take, this type of situation into a family-orientated place. And then the person who's supposed to provide you protection isn't on his A game? When did you fall off of his good list?
They knew exactly what was going on. That's why Offset and Cardi B kept on saying Takeoff should have never went there with Quavo. Now keep in mind, Mike Prince, which is J. Prince, you feel me, senior, his brother, that's the dude. He was there. He literally was right there organizing everything. They said Mike Prince went on an interview. They went on Gilly and Wallow. It was him, J. Prince Jr., J. Prince Sr., and Mike Prince. They went on that and started talking stuff about Offset. Now keep in mind, Offset, he already said he don't like them. He don't know them from a can of paint. His brother should have never went out there with them and expected for them to protect him when it's security who was supposed to get provided to Takeoff.
And where was the security? Where was the security for the bowling alley? Where was the security for the event? When you have a certain amount of people in attendance,
it's a capacity that you're supposed to have in those places.
And you're also supposed to provide a safe environment for your guests. When did we stop doing that as a company? You know there's lawsuits pending. There have to be. I'm going to have to dive into that part. But realistically speaking, if his parents or wife wanted to file a lawsuit just against the facility, they had every right to. Because there was no protection in place. There was no security protocols in place. And then why is he moving out here by himself in the streets? Obviously he thinks he's safe, but somebody failed along the line to protect this man.
Quavo, he gave him a false sense of reality. Made Takeoff think that he was protected and that they was going to supply them with the proper protection that they actually need, which is security, weapons, anything, mace. You got to understand, Takeoff didn't have nothing on him but his cell phone.
I think this kind of goes back to, we grew up believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. When you sit here and you put faith into another person's words, you're surely to be let down. And that's exactly what happened here. He was let down and lost his life. And it is so devastating to think that you can't even trust the person you call brother anymore.
You can't, because everybody ain't going to be in your corner. And they say that the feds only jumped in this case is because they brought a weapon inside of a public bowling alley where it was families and stuff at. That's why the feds kicking in. It was multiple witnesses and multiple people who was around who was actually trying to duck for cover.
If they can prove that this is anything more than an argument gone wrong, I feel deeply sorry for the people involved, because this case is going to go on for a hot minute. You can only imagine the mounds of evidence that's being collected. It's going to take time to go through all of that evidence and really get down to the bottom.
November 1st, 2022, Takeoff.
You'll have to actually see the interview that Quavo did. In that interview, it clearly showed Quavo, he said that he knew he made a bad decision by going out there. Now, keep in mind, he told Takeoff he was going to be good. Whenever you tell somebody they're going to be good, whenever y'all going out in public, that person is literally sitting back without a doubt in their mind that something bad going to actually kick off or something going to happen that'll put their life in jeopardy. Look what happened. Takeoff end up being the one who get hit up. He got hit in the head, man, and that's sad, man, because they left that man laying right there. They picked him up to try to see was he alive, knowing a headshot, you ain't gonna stay up like that, man. And I want everybody to know it was people who was rooting for Quavo and Takeoff. Cardi B said that as soon as she saw the pictures of Takeoff laying right there, first thing she thought in her head was, how did Quavo let somebody get up behind all the way that close up on Takeoff? Now keep in mind, Takeoff, he didn't see his blind spots. He didn't know that the people who was holding their cell phone was waiting for something to happen, and they didn't signal him and tell him he got a gun. They ain't say nothing. They waited till they started shooting, and then they said, ooh, ooh, and then they ran.